ladies and gentlemen. It is November 18th, 2013. This is the Squared Circle. I am Hollywood J. Williams, along with Mr. John Zimmerman. Mr. Tom Dacey is here as well. This is the award-winning Squared Circle, of course. Right. I can't forget to say that, of course. We have no news tonight, unfortunately. No news. But as they say, no news is good news, because joining us in studio tonight, once again, WWE legend, Hall of Famer, Mario Mancini.
It's good to be here again, guys. This is like my third appearance and last appearance on the Squared Circle. I will never appear again on the show. I keep hearing that Jersey Mike's is supplied here when the show's on, and this is the third time I've come here, and I see no Jersey Mike's. It must just be me that the greatest sub on the face of the earth isn't here when I come here. So I guess the next time you attempt to book me here, I will ask if Jersey Mike's will be supplied.
Mr. Zimmerman, did you drop the ball on that one?
No, I didn't. I understand that Mark takes good care of you when you go see him.
Yeah, Mark is very good to me.
Yes, he is.
He's got a superior product there, and him and his whole staff, they're all good there.
Yeah, well, my son is, Jacob is 11 years old, and he's been going there since he was in a baby carrier, and you can see the size of him. So he really loves Jersey Mike's. And you know what? Not only, I mean, is it a great product, but Mark is just a wonderful guy, and he's put through, you can testify, that he's put quite a few kids through college working in his fine facility.
Absolutely. And you know what? He's in the right business, because he's a people person, and he really believes in his product. So and it's a good product. He should.
If you believe in your product, that's the whole thing, right?
Well, I would believe in it even more if it was here. But it's okay. I understand.
I think we're doing okay.
Hey, listen, I'm looking for the right diet right now myself. So the paleo thing's not working for me these days. So.
But how's the CrossFit going for you?
The CrossFit's going good. I mean, the upper body's getting better, and I feel tighter, and I haven't felt like this in a long time. Clint and Aaron there at Guilford CrossFit, at Whippet CrossFit in Guilford, they're just world-class people, and they get me through it. Like I said, I'm just having some trying to find the right diet. I think somehow my type 2 is blocking my ability to drop as much weight as I'd like. But that doesn't take away the fact that, I could do 30 push-ups at one pop, and before we went on the air, I showed you guys that I was deadlifting 405, it's coming along, and the cardio's getting better, and then, it's a battle. I still have only been doing it since April, and, it's coming along. I feel great. I like what I see in the mirror when I look from here up, in my shoulders and my arms and my chest, but then I'm like, geez, I gotta get rid of that. You know what I mean? So, CrossFit is a great thing. It's definitely a life changer. It really is. It's positive. The people there are great. Not only Aaron and Clint, but their trainers are world-class trainers, and even the members there, they're just great people to be around. They make you feel good. I'm definitely a feel-good kind of guy, you know what I mean? I like feeling, not only, physically, but mentally and spiritually, I like to feel good, So they definitely make you feel that way, and for people that aren't familiar with it, I mean, you go there, you guys were there on Saturday, and sometimes you walk in there and look at it, and you're standing there, and I'm down, doing push-ups and kettlebells, and the sweat's starting to come off my nose, and sometimes it could be intimidating, but you know what? You really don't know what you can do until you try it. And there's a lot of times that I look at the workout of the day, and I'm like, how am I going to do that? But you end up doing it, and you feel like $1 million after you do it. It's just that initial over the hump of getting the nerve to go in there and embarrassing yourself for about a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, until, you know, and you really don't, because Clint's there to go, that's okay. It's all right. Yeah. Don't worry about it. You know, you're going to get there. It's all right. It's okay. You know, your ego wants to put weight on the bar, and Clint's there to go, you don't want to do that right now. You know, you just want to get the movement down, you know. And even as trainers, as young as they are, you know, they're the first ones to look at you and go, look, we're here to get healthy, not get hurt. You know what I mean? So it's a really great facility there in Guilford, and you know, for as tough as it sounds, Whip It CrossFit, you know, Clint will always give you that smirk while you're gasping for your last air, and your shirt is drenched, and that was a really good workout. That was a good one, and it was, and it's not easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. On the other hand, you know, there are some CrossFits that are competitive CrossFits, meaning that you know, the highest level of CrossFit athlete, they work out at that facility. I mean, you walk in there and you're going to walk out. You know what I mean? So they're all different levels of people there at CrossFit. Yeah. You know, you know, there were 2 women that were in there that were in their mid-40s, and they, you know, they were a little, you could tell they were just starting out, and they're walking around with their shoulders up to their ears, and I'm like, just calm down, you'll get it. You know, you'll get it, and you'll like it, and you'll get addicted to it. You know, the key, like with anything in the story of my life, is, you know, sticking to what's hard, you know what I mean? From pro wrestling school to professional wrestling itself, to law school, to the bar exam, and hell, you know, to marriage. You know, unfortunately, I haven't been able to stick that much in my life in marriages. I'm on my 3rd one, you know, it's like anything in life. I'm passionate about everything I do. The history of myself is a history of hard work, dedication, and passion, and putting 100% into anything and everything I do. Which, surprisingly, I didn't tell them. Believe me, if I told them what to put in the WWE encyclopedia, it wouldn't have been the first line. But you know what? The second line does say the most resilient wrestler in professional wrestling history. Yes. No matter how bad, you know, Mario got beaten, he came back for more. And that statement in there about me, about professional wrestling, is my statement of life. You know what I mean? You know, I take a lot of what people consider a corny, fictitious character, a Rocky Balboa, who you know, will get me right here. You know, when he says, you know, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep on going. Yeah. It's how much you can take and keep moving forward. And for me, that's life. Yeah.
To rolling that boulder up the hill.
Right. In my case, though, in just one certain aspect of my life, which would be love, that boulder always kicks back and rolls back over me. And I don't know why. I'm a real sweet guy, but anyway. So that's the way I approach life, and you know, for kids out there that want to be wrestlers, and you know, like your son, that's the only thing you know, I can the advice I can give them: don't listen to anyone, no one. I decided I wanted to be a wrestler when I was 14 years old. They were still laughing at me at graduation, June 20th of 1984. July 31st, I was standing in the ring at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie against Greg Valentine. You know, and then when I wrestled in the New Haven Coliseum and I saw 8 or 9 guys I graduated with in the second row, they
must have been sweet.
I mean, I had a gym teacher, his name was Mr. Frank, and used to yell at me all the time because I used to get my friends up in suplexes and slams and put them down, you know. Everybody could see that I was going to wrestling school my whole senior year of high school. So
was that Foreign or Milford High?
That was Platt Tech.
Oh, Platt Tech. Okay.
Class of 1984.
I know it was Milford.
So, yeah. But you know what? The wrestling business for me back then. It's so different than it is now, and the guys are different, and their beliefs are different, and the whole business is different. And even though I was in the position that I was in, and I make jokes that I'm the guy in the back, you know what I mean? But I was there at the pinnacle. I was there.
That was the golden age.
Yeah, I was there 8 months before WrestleMania 1. I was there at the height. You know, it was like saying I played with Babe Ruth, and there's cheaters on the I better make this a Red Sox thing. They won the World Series.
Right.
So you could say,
we know you're Yankee.
You could say you played with Ted Williams and you played with Yaz and Fisk and everything.
Yeah.
You know, that's the golden era. Those are the real heart of the Red Sox, right? And but you could say you played with Pedroia and Poppy, but those guys don't get their props until 30 years from now, until they're other stars. And so why? You know what I mean?
Did you work with Bruno at all?
I did work with Bruno. And like I said in the last show I was here, I never got to get close to Bruno enough to let him know how what I felt.
Yep. And we got a shot of him somewhere.
Until a friend of mine put on a show at the Westchester County Center in 1999. I spent 2 hours with Bruno. And when I was done, he said, "I wish you were my son." And I told him everything. I got everything off my chest. And I told him that how I felt. And I said I was in the Worcester Centrum, and I didn't know what was going on. I knew it was a Battle Royal, but I didn't know it was a Legends Battle Royal. And Killer Kowalski came in the ring, and Strongbow came in the ring, and then Bruno came in the ring. Bobo Brazil came in the ring.
Nice.
And, you know, the bell rang, and I could move. And SD came over and gave me a shot to the gut, and I didn't sell it. And he said, "What are you doing, Mancini?" I go, "Bruno's in the ring. Yeah. Bruno's in the ring." Yep. And he started laughing. He gave me a headbutt. And at that point, I had to sell that because that's SD. Yeah. So, but I totally marked out. I marked out completely. Since everybody knows lingo now, I marked out completely because Bruno was in the ring with me. But I did get to talk to him at that show. A very dear friend of mine, is a really close friend of mine. His name is Tony Delamira, also known as Tony Mira, also known as the Godfather. And he came to my wrestling school in 1990, and he had and still does have the heart of a giant. Just the nicest guy you ever wanted to meet, and he reminded me a lot of myself. He wanted to be a pro wrestler so badly, and he wanted to be a pro wrestler in the WWE, and he had a really good gimmick. I mean, he spent the money, the independent shows, you know. We had a couple of outside shows, and he came in a big black stretch limousine, and people opened up the doors for him. He came out with that thick pinstripe suit on with that fedora. I mean, he really played the part.
Yeah, he lived it.
Excellent gimmick.
Yeah.
And he had the heart. He had the heart. Literally had the heart of 10 guys to want to be a pro wrestler. This guy wanted it really, really, really bad. But physically, he was kind of like me. I was a ground and pound guy. I modeled my wrestling style after Bruno Sammartino. So, you know, when Mario went in the ring, you weren't going to see Mil Mascaras, you know what I mean? That wasn't happening. Right. Or Tiger Mask, you weren't seeing that.
Oh, I missed that guy.
All right. So, you know, Tony, he's a big guy. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He was over 350 pounds. And, but for such a big guy, he had kind of short legs and short arms. So I had to curtail his wrestling style around his body. You know, he wasn't going to do any flying body presses, but the forearms, the punches, the clotheslines, the dropping the elbows, dropping legs. And, you know, I brought him to a TV taping, and you can just see him get deflated. And you can tell that he saw what it really took to be there. And he saw what position I was in, and he saw I wasn't ever going to go any further than what I'm going for several different reasons. I explained on this show before.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me go over it one more time. Either you're blood-born, you're a freak, or you're the Brooklyn Brawler. I was
Brooklyn Brawler.
I was none of the three.
Right.
So I kept doing what I was doing, and he saw that it might even be hard for him, to even do what I'm doing, because you have to get in there with a Bret Hart, and you have to get in there with a Ray Hernandez and a Kurt Hennig, and not only that, it's not what he wanted. He wanted to be over. He wanted the gimmick to be over. Mm-hmm. So he decided to be a promoter, and he was very successful as a promoter. And he called me up to do the Westchester County Center. How the hell did you get that? How did you get that? Yeah. No one's gotten the Westchester County Center but Vince McMahon. Yeah. And no one's gotten the Westchester County Center since without Vince McMahon. Right. And I love you, Vince, and don't ever misunderstand me. I really do. You're a good guy. And Tony got it. He had Bruno there, and he had Offensive, the Wild Samoans there, and he's got it on DVD to this day. And it was just a great show, and he was a great wrestling promoter, and he's a very dear friend of mine, and he's really taken ill. And he's not doing well, and he's just a really good guy. He definitely was never out to hurt anybody. No. You know what I mean? He'd help anybody that walked in his path. He's a world-class human being, and more importantly, than being a good wrestler, or even a good lawyer, is being a world-class human being.
Amen. Yes.
You know what I mean? And
now, he was at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
He wasn't.
No?
No.
Godfather?
No, that's another Godfather. This is this is Tony Mira.
So the other Godfather ripped off his gimmick then?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there have been a few Godfathers. That's why I really was uncomfortable when I came back in 2007 to do some stuff with Tukey Tucker. And, they were calling me, somebody just came up with it, and they were calling me Mario Mancini, the Godfather. And I'm like, I'm really not cool with that.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because the first person I thought of was my buddy Tony.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And he really played the part well. It just hit me now when I look back at it. Mm-hmm. He really should have been a manager. He would have been a great manager. Yeah. Yeah, he would have been, because he had the talk, he had the facial expressions. He cheated really bad in the match one time. He just went over on the guy. And the guy got up and he was complaining, and the referee went over to Tony. That fedora on and that suit and everything. And he just looked at the referee and he went. And that was the greatest. I mean, it reminded me of the time I had a match, and on my comeback, I must have threw 300 punches, and then I came back in, and Arnold Skolin said, "That was good heat you got out there." He goes, "But Pedro Morales can go out there and get the same heat with one punch." He got that big gut punch. You know what I mean? And that's what reminded me of what Tony did that day, because you can get a guy, you can get a heel to walk out of the ring, scream at the entire crowd, get up to the ring apron, grab the microphone, start telling everybody to shut up, and start telling people to sit down and keep you're ugly and you got 4 eyes and you're this and you're that, and you're working really hard to be hated. Mm-hmm. And Tony just simply went. You know what I mean? So I think it was just great, and you know what? If you talk to him today, he still has the heart of a giant for the business. I think we didn't get to talk the other day much about it, but I think he feels like me. I don't even know if he watches it. I know I don't. And wrestling will never be
Oh, it's definitely changed. It's never going to go back to what it was.
You know, it's too bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, hoping wrestling goes back the way it was is, you know, kind of hoping that we pull up to the pump and it says $1.09.
Yeah.
You know, we go and buy,
those days are gone too.
Yeah, we go buy a loaf of bread and it's 69 cents.
Right. But, you know, I mean, that's what makes guys of your generation and your era special. And, you know, because it's different now and they were a breed of their own, you know, and you were, honestly, I'm not stroking you, you know, you were at like you said, the pinnacle, and you know, you were in what we see now as the golden age. You know, it wasn't what it is now, and it was the transition between the Bruno Sammartino style and then the Hulk Hogan post-WrestleMania.
Well, let's talk about that
style,
because you know, there was a feeling. I can't describe it. There was a feeling to pro wrestling, maybe because it was only on midnight on Saturday night, and maybe because Vince Sr. was still doing small towns.
Yeah.
But there was something for me, and you know what? I'm so sorry. Next time I come in, you guys will get such a kick out of it. I have my programs from 1977, and I have the lineup, and it's you know, I'm there, and it's Spiro Sarion against Chief Jay Strongbow, and it's Superstar Billy Graham versus Ivan Putski, and you know, Johnny Rods, you know, versus Mr. X, and you know, and my brother used to take me to Stanford High School, and we would watch wrestling, and that's why I never seen Bruno live, because you know, he didn't take me to the Garden, you know what I mean, and my brother, the age difference was 13 years. I'm also one of my equal heroes as Bruno is Thurman Munson, and I can't tell you how angry I was because I grew up in Stanford, and when I finally got my driver's license, I went to Yankee Stadium by myself. I bought my own ticket. I went to the game all by myself. And you know, it was 82, and I used to live off of exit 6 in Stanford, and when I passed that and I realized how close the stadium was to when I was a little kid, when I was angry at my whole family because it was really
believe it or not, me being a huge Red Sox fan, my uncle used to take me to the Yankee games, and I saw Munson, and I still have the programs from, you know, Munson and Mickey Rivers and Chambliss, you know,
I never saw
and Willie Randolph, and Nettles, and I saw all those guys, and you know, and I look back on it, I still have the ticket stubs and everything.
Wow.
And you know, I'm so fortunate to have seen, you know, that level of talent.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah, I never saw him play live, and when I realized that it was 25 minutes from where I lived. You know, this literally, you pass exit 6, you get to exit 2, you're in the Bronx. You know, and I'm like, gee, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm amazed, you know, I mean, here we are, especially sitting here in North Haven. I mean, we're an hour and a half from Yankee Stadium. We're 2 hours from Fenway Park. And it just amazes me talking to my coworkers and stuff. They've never been. I'm like, what do you mean?
We have a special phone call.
Oh, okay. But they've never been to Times Square. They've never been to Boston.
It's just a very short drive or train ride.
Exactly.
All right, it is.
But you are live on the Squared Circle.
It's not how hard you get hit, it's how you get up. Could also describe the New York Jets.
Ed, are you still crying after yesterday's game?
It was sickening. Listen, I don't want to take up too much time. I'm enjoying your guest, Mr. Mancini, very much. Just quickly, look for Manny Pacquiao to bounce back with a victory this Saturday night when he fights Brandon Rios. And I wanted to ask Mr. Mancini, I was a fan of the sport more when he was in his prime, also in the 80s, late 70s, and 90s. And I have two names that I want to mention to him, and then I'll hang up and listen to his recollections about them. One was Ivan Putski, the Polish power, and the other one was ring announcer Howard Finkel. And I'll hang up and listen to what he has to say. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot, Ed.
Wow, that's excellent. Ivan Putski, I knew enough to say hello to in the dressing room.
Okay.
No one ever got too close to Ivan because he would eat raw onions like an apple.
Maybe that's why.
Like an apple in the dressing room. The only thing I really know about Ivan is the minute he was asked to do a job, he quit.
Wow.
The minute you got to go down, he said, I quit. He didn't like doing jobs. That's the only thing I know.
Wow.
Now, Howard Finkel, another one of the sweetest guys I know.
Local boy.
Worth even Jones.
Yeah, local
Worked
guy.
at Marlin Firearms.
Yeah, Howard Finkel. I am 7 months away, Joe Bruin. 7 months away, my friend, of being the first inductee for 2004. I'm so honored because there's like, I don't know how many people he's got lined up now, 14, 15, 18.
Yeah.
And right after the last Hall of Fame, he puts my picture up on his Facebook, and he said, I'd like to announce the first inductee to the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame for 2014 is Mario Mancini. And I'm 7 months away. And again, I can't tell you how much fun I had at that thing. And I look forward to the 2 days. They're going to be, you know, I hope they're 2 long days.
Yeah.
And
this is probably going to be the longest 7 months of your life.
Yeah, man, really, I can't wait. Even though it's on my 48th birthday, and I really don't want to turn 48, that's okay. But Howard Finkel's going to announce me into the Hall of Fame. He's going to announce me when I go up and give my speech. And I was thinking about this the other day, and you guys might find this kind of saying tomorrow is a little strange. But my father's 87, and he's going to be 88 in February.
Oh, bless.
And, yeah, and, you know, I can't necessarily look at the guy and go, knock out those other 12 years. I mean, he hit a home run, and I know when the time comes I'm going to speak. Just like I know I'm going to speak at this Hall of Fame. And those are the only 2 instances that I can think of where I'm not going to have to write anything down.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe anybody should have to write something down or prepare something that you can speak straight from your heart from.
Yeah,
it's true.
All right. So if you gave me this, you said, Mario, we're giving this award to you. I'd be like, oh, damn. I'd be like, I'm so honored to receive it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when it comes from the heart, you don't have to do that. And I can tell you this. Derek Jeter will not be announced if he ever plays again. Will not be announced by anybody at Yankee Stadium but Bob Shepard.
Right.
Even after Bob Shepard died, Jeter said, get the tape. Nobody's announcing me to the plate. So when he goes to the plate, you hear, now batting, number 2, Derek Jeter.
Derek?
Jeter.
Jeter.
Yeah, number 2. Howard Finkel is the Bob Shepard of the WWE. Okay?
Yeah.
For him, he's wrestling royalty.
Yeah.
He is so humble. He's so humble that there were fans at his table getting autographs. And I was standing there, giving him a hard time why I should be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Right.
And I looked at the fans and I said, do you know that you're standing in front of the guy who coined the phrase WrestleMania? Do you know that? And they go, no, I didn't know. And Howard went in his pocket and he took out 2 quarters. And he goes, do you also know that you're standing in front of the guy that has 2 coins? Right here. And, you know, that's the way Fink is. Fink, and that's why he's been around for 40 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he's humble. He's smart. His heart's in the business. His heart will still be in that business well after he's gone. I have the utmost respect for him.
Nobody announces like he does.
No, and let me tell you something.
Nobody compares.
Gordon Soley might be the same.
No, Finkel had me right where he wanted me all the time. Whether I was in the 3rd row or I was watching it on TV. Yeah. He had me all the time. So, you know, we'd go and watch, and it would be live, and the main event would come on, and somebody got screwed. Bad. And you're mad, because we're marks, and I'm mad. I'm 14 and I'm mad. Right. My guy, the babyface, got screwed. And Howard would come in, and before the last match, he'd say, tickets go on sale as the WWF returns to the New Haven Coliseum, and here is some of the lineup. You'll see blah, 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 and then he would pause. And then he would say, Bob Backlund, who just wrestled somebody that night and got screwed over by Morocco, and Howard would take that deep breath, and his face would all red, his head would get red.
I remember.
Start shaking, and he'd go, Bob Backlund versus the Magnificent Mar, and the place would go crazy. I'd be standing up, and you know what? My little ass was running to the box office going, So if Howard, you know, you know, I get so angry, you know, the things we didn't talk about last time. I get so angry because the Garden was hit or miss. It was hit or miss back in 1979 and 80 and 81. If the Garden came on Monday night once a month, right? And you go over to the brown box and you go, you know, to the cable box at the push button, and all of a sudden you'd see the ring, and I'd start jumping up and down, going, it's televised, it's televised, it's televised, right? And then my whole family would come in. And then there were some months that you went and it wasn't there. It wasn't there. And you know what? My whole night would be ruined. I'd be pissed the next day. So, you know, but the times it was on, and you'd see the same thing, a tag team this, a tag team, or there's a new tag team coming up, and they're undefeated, and a Finkel will come on, and he'll do that, face will go red, and they'll start, and that big, loud thing. I mean, again, let me say again, Vince McMahon has never done anything bad to me, ever. I have no ill feelings toward Vince McMahon whatsoever. How he ran his company or how he treated people, okay? I don't blame him for the deaths in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? I don't blame him for guys who pass away 6 years after they're out of his company. You know what I mean? They go back and go, Vince, look what you did. He's like, what? Come on.
What did I do?
You know what I mean?
Anything.
You know? And also, let me say that we were all grown men. And we were there to try to, for me, I was there to try to make a living. But there were other guys there making a great living and had families. And you know what? We're booked to wrestle shows, to travel the road, to stay in a hotel, to take care of their road accommodations, to go to the arena on time and put on a show the way Vince McMahon expected you to put on a show. Vince McMahon did not supply the marijuana on the side or the cocaine on the side or the other social drugs on the side. He didn't say, oh, by the way, all this comes with it. He didn't say that. You know what I mean? So, that being said, there's a reason why I said it, that not even Vince's announcement in front of 92,000 people welcoming them to WrestleMania would ever top anything Finkel ever did.
I used to love it when there was a title change, and he would always go, and new, and he'd emphasize that new.
No, Howard Finkel, he's it. He's just as important as Hulk Hogan. You know, and you know, we were talking about that. The different feeling. Yeah, I don't know about you. How old are you?
45.
Okay, so I'm 47, so we're close. So you wouldn't know this, but there was.
I'm about to be 38.
Well, no,
I'm 49.
I don't know. You would know this. So there was just this certain feeling that you would get, and it was a certain atmosphere that you would take in when you saw Larry Zbyszko hit Bruno in the head with that chair, and Bruno was bleeding like a pig. And you would see Baron von Raschke come in and go, you know, go like this, and there was just a certain, there was a different feel to the time, the era. You actually can feel the turnover. It was different when, you know, superstar Billy Graham took the belt from Bruno, and you know, what a great finish. What a great finish. So he covers Bruno, and he puts his legs up on the ropes, and the referee counts 3. You know, and all of a sudden you got the largest arms in the world, you know what I mean? And he was the champ. And then while he's the champ, you have this howdy-doody looking guy coming on doing this Harvard step test, right? Remember watching him midnight doing the Harvard step test? A great conditioned athlete, maybe one of the greatest conditioned athletes in pro wrestling next to Paul Roma. Because to me, in my eyes, Paul Roma was the greatest conditioned athlete in sports.
Who we just saw on Saturday.
Oh yeah, in sports. That includes pro wrestling, Major League Baseball, NHL, the NFL, the NBA, any bodybuilder. Paul Roma is the most talented athlete.
And he deadlifted on Saturday what?
Paul?
Yeah.
That's over 50?
Yeah.
Oh, God, he was such a wimp. He only deadlifted 500 pounds.
Only, right?
Yeah.
At 50-plus years old.
Yeah, 500 pounds, okay?
I will attest, he looked great. It was nice to meet him.
You know, and a lot of guys wish they looked like that at 54, you know. But Bob Backlund was a great athlete. And you even felt that change coming. You know, when Backlund took it, it was still Saturday night, midnight. You know, you still had those, you know, it's almost like Santana and Valentine for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
He's constant, almost constant with Morocco, Backlund. And then the Sheik took it from Backlund, and all of a sudden, Hogan came in, and rock and roll came in, and it got cool. And guys like us, tell me if I'm wrong, I was already broken in by then, but guys like us, seeing all these celebrities, and all of a sudden it's on a Saturday night main event, and all of a sudden it's on 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. If you didn't catch it then, you could catch it at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Then you could catch it again Sunday morning. And all of a sudden, everybody jumped on the bandwagon. And you're like, this is my gig, man. You guys weren't around while I was watching Backlund. You know?
Exactly.
You guys weren't, you know, you guys weren't watching Charlie Fulton with me. Who are you guys? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, it's like, you know, when, you know, the local bands, you've been going to like the bar, you know, and then all of a sudden everybody, you know, they hit big. And it's like, I've been watching them for like 5-10 years, you know, and now all of a sudden they're the flavor of the month. And yeah, it's kind of like that, you know. You know, and it was like ours. Then all of a sudden, everybody else comes in, and it's not our little, like our little fight club anymore.
Then they overexposed it.
Yeah. There's like a lot of people that don't realize how long wrestling was around before there was a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, they overexposed it. They changed. They changed the science of wrestling. There is no science of wrestling.
No.
At all. There's no psychology. There's nothing. There's just pure Hollywood entertainment.
Yeah.
Script writing.
That's what you have. It's pure Hollywood.
We hire
soap opera writers.
We hire soap opera writers. From the now defunct soap operas.
Listen, there is no more. You understand? You guys have to understand what I'm saying. There's no more, you know, Mario, and the next time you go out there and you got that thing twisted, and you go to twist it again like this, twist it again like this. There's no more of that. There's no more move 4 inches up. You know, you know, I used to have students in my wrestling school, and they'd make a comeback, and they'd be going boom, 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 boom. I'd say, hey, time out. What am I doing wrong? What's wrong with my punches? Are they too hard? Oh, no. Well, what's wrong? I go, not everybody paid $90 for a ticket in their first 5 rows. You know, if the place was holding 18,000, somebody's sitting in the rafters. They don't know what the hell you're doing. You better come all the way back here so they can see what you're doing.
Another call here.
You know?
You're live on the Squared Circle.
Hi, guys. How's it going tonight?
Great, great.
Hey, first off, Mr. Mancini, congratulations on your induction to the New England Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's a very good accolade there, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was listening to you guys, and I go back to the mid-'70s and such, and Saturday Night Wrestling on Channel 9, and I think on Saturday mornings at 10 or 11 o'clock, Channel 20 may have had it. And I've been down to the Garden with Walter Mann for some of the matches back then, and to the Coliseum over here and all around. But and I agree with you guys. What I think, now you didn't have the internet back then, first off. Your inside wrestling and your wrestler books were a couple of months behind. So you know, you couldn't wait to get those magazines to see how your favorites did elsewhere besides in your home arena. But getting to the matches themselves, the guys and gals today are superb athletes, okay? I only wish I could even walk as good as some of them, fly around the ring. I hobble around like, but my point is, back in the day, the matches seemed more believable to me. Now, I was younger, too, but it was almost, and I, like Mr. Mancini said, MSG on a Monday night, you were hoping that it was there, but when it was, there was nothing like it, because you had the best matches. Because, you know, your Saturday morning and Saturday night matches, you usually had a superstar going against, and this is no disrespect, going against what they would call a jobber, I guess. But on MSG, you'd have the top stars against each other. And it just seemed like the matches were more believable back then. You know, Morales against Morocco, Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes, Bruno and Stan Hansen, whoever it might have been. And like I said, the matches today, there's so much. You know, you had back then a little mixing in of Vince interviewing the talent, and now, to me, and this is just my own humble opinion, now they take 15 minutes to talk when the show comes on, and I'd rather just see a match like the old days.
If you miss the first hour of Raw, you're really not missing anything.
You're not missing
anything.
Okay, yeah. What happened in the second hour?
I agree with you, caller.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, did they ever get back to you today?
Yes, they did.
Excellent. But no, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job, and who has those archives? Is that the McMahons have? Isn't there some kind of wrestling pay-per-view channel that has some of the old matches?
Yes.
I know some of their
WWE On Demand.
Cool matches.
Yeah, WWE On Demand has them.
It does, okay. But no, once again, congratulations, Mr. Mancini.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
And you guys are doing a great job, and you know, it's like anything else, it's probably not going to be the way it was. But now the athletes are fabulous still.
Oh, absolutely, but it will never be the way it was, and you know, it'll probably evolve even further. Anyways,
guys, thanks for letting me call in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good night, guys.
We'll be telling you about how different it is in 20 years. I'm sure.
Yeah. You know, Kevin shouldn't be afraid to say jobber. Most websites have me as one of the top 5 jobbers in the history of professional wrestling. In fact, my son-in-law reminds me on one website where it says that I'm like number 2 on their countdown of all-time jobbers, and I said, well, what does it say about me? And he said, the only time Mario Mancini's arm was raised is when they announced his name. So he gets a kick out of that one, and quite frankly, so do I. You know, I knew what I was, and I knew what my job was.
Mario,
so I was good with that. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, what was your most memorable match?
My most memorable match was against Gino Carabello in the New Haven Coliseum. Andre and Hogan were the main event. And I looked at my family and I said, I'm going to New Haven. Anybody want to come? And he said, you wrestling on it? I said, no, I'm not booked on it. They go, nah, it's okay. Went picked up Gino, went to New Haven. It was about 6:30. Yeah. Arnie said, thank God. Well, in wrestling, there's a Boy Scout rule. You don't go anywhere without your bag. Anywhere without your bag. You guys got your stuff? Yeah. They're held up for about 45 minutes. I need like 20 minutes. I'm like, okay. And he turned to me and said, what do you got for a finish? And I looked behind me to make sure he wasn't talking to anybody else. And I said, a reverse flying body press off the second rope. He goes, use it. And Gino went in there, and Howard Finkel will attest to this. And Gino and I went in there, and we went about 22 minutes. The 22nd minute, the referee came in and said, they're here, you can go home. And he threw me into one buckle, and he threw me into the other, and I went face to that buckle, up to the second rope, that flying body press, and got the 3 count. And when Howard Finkel announced my name, I was as far away from him, like where he is to me. And when he announced my name, I couldn't hear it. The place was absolutely crazy. I mean, the building was shaking.
I was there, believe it or not.
Were you really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was a great match too, and I went in the dressing room. Skolin had that cigar in his mouth. He goes, "A good pop out there, kid. It's a good pop. You got good stuff out there." And I said, "Hey, Ernie, anybody can get that kind of pop who lives 20 minutes away and is announced from Milford, Connecticut, right. You're standing in New Haven."
Yep.
I said, "But I promise you this. If you give me a chance, if this organization will just give me a chance, I'll do the same thing in St. Louis. I just need the shot." You know? And I never got that shot. But, you know, that's okay, because you know what? What wrestling taught me to do well was to lose. And you know what? There's some kids that will play games and they see themselves going down the tubes, whether it's Monopoly or how, they'll walk away from it because they just can't take that humiliation of losing. Whether it's horseshoes or, you know, a bad baseball game, or, you know, it taught me to lose and lose gracefully. And you know what? When I had other challenges in my life and I got knocked down, I said, it's okay. Come right back up. No matter what it is. Work, love, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it is. You knock me down, I'm coming back up. And the attitude that I have and the personality that I have, you know, I usually come back out on top, and I'm okay. And, you know, that's really important for me to do, and it's important for my kids to see that you can go through, you know, the pits of hell, but you're going to walk out and you're going to be okay, you know? So, you know, I think I would have had a hard time, and a lot of guys did. I think I would have had a hard time, you know, wearing that belt and all those people screaming my name and making, you know, $14,000 a week and, you know, living life large, and the gravy train stopping abruptly, and there's no more $14,000 a week, and I don't know how to do anything else. I have no other skill. And
you didn't take that $14,000 and exactly invest it.
No. And I just had a great time, and I don't have any other skill, and I don't hear that cheer anymore. I don't hear that crowd anymore.
Right.
And that's why how dead on it was about the wrestler. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you, when I was in law school, you know, when I was in law school, we'd have moot court, you know, and we'd have to write a brief, and you know, you either, you know, the plaintiff or the defendant, you know, either argue for it or against it, and you had to wear a suit to law school, and you had to be on court on time, and you know, you got a certain amount of time to make your argument in front of a 3-judge panel, you know, and you know, the two people were in that courtroom in the law school arguing in front of these judges we've never seen before in our life. And I remember sitting on the floor, and my guy I was going against, he looked down at me, he goes, and he's kind of doing one of these back and forth, and he's like, "Aren't you nervous?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Why not?" I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people sitting there, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I go, "There's 11 people in there." He's like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, try performing in front of 18,000, 12,000, 10,000, 8,000, 350.
Yeah, right.
You know? But the funny part about it is, when I saw them close their folders, I got up from the floor, and I knew I was going to have to go in that courtroom. And what did I do? I stood in front of the door, and I waited for them to come out. And as I was waiting for them to come out, I'm standing there with my brief, and I'm going, "Why am I smacking myself in the arm? You know, why am I doing that? You know?" And the door opens, and I walk into the courtroom. You know what I mean? And you know what? Doing that is the closest thing that you can ever do compared to being a professional wrestler, because when you think about it, if you're at the 3rd floor of 235 Church Street, you go through the metal detector, take the elevator to the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
The elevator opens up, you walk down the hallway. You open up the door, you walk through the crowd.
Yeah.
The people.
Yeah.
in the pews, you walk through the crowd, but once you go through that half door, that's the bar. When people say, I passed the bar, that's what they mean. That little half door that you go through, as long as you're not a criminal,
Right.
you have the privilege to go through because you passed an exam. You get to pass that bar and go in there. So now you're in the ring. You look back, the crowd's there.
Yeah.
And you're in the ring. And the referee's sitting up on a bench. And the guy you're working with, he's trying to beat you, only it's a shoot. Because we're not in the back of the courthouse going, listen, after I say this.
No, that's not the way.
Oh, yeah. It's a shoot. It's a shoot. No, it's a shoot. It's definitely for real. It's a shoot. It's not predetermined.
Wait a minute.
You know, there's not, the clerk in the courthouse doesn't have a pencil in his, put the pencil in the mouth and go, okay, Hillary, it's this. And then the case. It's not like that.
You're not getting paid out of the briefcase in the
back? No. That's real life there. It is kind of similar. You walk down a hallway, you walk through that crowd, you go into that ring, that arena, and do your thing.
And you're performing.
Oh yeah, and you know, I really that's what I love the most about that. But you know, there are a lot of times I sit back and I think, and you know, I'd like to go back. I really miss those days. I really miss watching Superstar Billy Graham and Spiros Arion and Argentina Apollo and Mil Mascaris and the Mighty Igor and all those guys. And you know, I'm just so thankful that I was in it when I got in it, because not only, again, I said this the last 3 times I was here, not only did I get to work in the golden age, in what I consider the height of the business itself, but I got to learn off those legends. I got to learn off of Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, Chief J. Strongbow, Arnold Skolin. You know, I got to learn, you know, from all those guys. You know what I mean? And I was so lucky. I was so lucky. You know what? If a wizard came up to me and they said, listen, we're going to go back to your 18th birthday. We're going to go back to June 21st, 1984. And it's going to be 6 weeks before you go in to break in. What do you want to do? And I'd say, well, if anything can change, could my career be enhanced? And he'd say, look, the best I can do is give you what you had. I'd say, well, let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do it over again. And he'd go, just reminding you, on August 9th, your nose is going to be broken in 3 places. I'll go through that again, too. You know what? It's kind of like marriage. You know, you get married once, and you get your nose broken, and you get married again, and you get your nose broken. So, I'm joking about them. I see. I still got my ring on. I still got my ring on.
The Superman one?
No, it's still there.
I still got it.
Yeah, it's for what it's worth. It's still there.
Me, I'm just enjoying it.
You know, I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. And even come back here and talk to it. This is one of the things I enjoy most, to sit around with a bunch of guys and just, you know, talk about it and reminisce about it. And the thing that makes me happy is guys can call up and go, 2 names, Ivan Putski and Howard Finkel, you know. And another guy can call up and go, you know, Kurt Hennig and, you know, Sergeant Slaughter. You know, I just told a client a story about Sergeant Slaughter today because he's one of his favorite wrestlers, and I was in Trumbull. It was Monroe. And Bobby always came out with a white towel over his head. Always had a towel over his head. Would walk to the car, summer, winter, whatever it was, he'd go to the towels. So I'm all done, and, you know, I'm outside talking to a group because, you know, let's face it, I'm just a kid, and, you know, I'm looking to have fun. And this old woman comes up to me, and she said, hey, have you seen my son? And I go, who's your son? She goes, Sergeant Slaughter. I go, oh, Bobby's your son. Oh, my God, he's such a nice guy. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, man. My name's Mario Mancini. I know your son. He was so good to me, and he's such a nice guy, and he's taught me so. Oh, he's always been a good guy like that. He always likes to help people, and he always like. And she goes, I'll go inside and see if I can find him. And she didn't go inside, but she went around the high school. And Slaughter comes out with his head thing, and we're parked next to each other, and I'm still talking to the Riazat over there, and I go, Bob, did you see your mother? He goes, what? I go, your mother just came over here looking for you. He goes, my mother's been dead for 8 years, Mario. I'm like, oh. He goes, some woman came over and said to my mother. I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, it's weird. I'm like, it's really weird for me now.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah, but he was a, he was a good guy. There were a lot of good guys there. Rick Martel was a really good guy. He'd do anything to help anybody. He tried to help me a lot.
He's one of the early high flyers, him and Gurria when they were a tag team.
Yeah. Gurria's still a world-class guy. He's, he's a really, really good guy. He's a good human being. I just would really give anything. Like, when I was at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, I saw Jake, and I said, Jake, it's really good to see you here. It's really good to see you here. And he said, yeah, Mario, it's really good to be here. I go, I mean alive, Jake.
Yeah.
Alive. He goes, yeah, man.
Yeah.
And he gave me some taekwondo thing or some judo thing he's doing.
Oh, DDP.
DDP's the one helping him out now.
But, Jake didn't have an easy life. He had a lot of demons. He had a rough childhood.
Yeah.
Tough stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
But I wish Kurt Hennig was alive. I wish Ray Hernandez was alive. Herc and I were really good friends, and we were really good friends only because of Roma, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm sure Roma wishes he
Kurt Hennig's son is now the Intercontinental Champion.
What's his name?
Goes by Curtis Axel.
That's what I thought.
Right.
I said, damn if that's not Hennig's kid. It's got to be.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of second and third generation. Snooker's daughter's in there.
Snooker's daughter. Well, listen.
Yeah.
You either have to be a freak, Bloodborne, or the Brooklyn Brawler.
There you go.
The freak would be Bray Wyatt, IRS's son.
IRS, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Rotundo, right?
Here.
Yeah. So, I'm glad to see that those guys are doing well, and I wouldn't begrudge any of them their bloodline. You know what I mean? I was always asked if I had a son, and no, because I don't think I had enough juice in order to get them over. You know what I mean? So,
believe it or not, we have a little less than 90 seconds left.
Yeah. Oh,
that's just amazing.
Great hour once again with Mario.
Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. I love coming back here.
Oh, God.
Next time
appearance.
Next time I'll make sure we have Jersey Mike.
What number? What's your number over there?
I'll go with a number 8. I'm good.
All right.
I'm good with a number 8 from Jersey Mike.
Hear that, Mr. Zimmerman? Number 8.
Yeah, John, get on it, because we want this guy to come back.
Tomato and the onion. I'm good.
All right.
We want this guy to come back, so get on it.
Remember that, number 8.
Thank you, Mario.
That was my pleasure.
Mario Mancini, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, sir.
My pleasure.
You have to drag Roma, kicking and screaming.
I'm going to try.
Definitely.
I'm going to try.
It was a wonderful opportunity to meet him. I appreciate you setting that up for me. And you'll look forward to our exclusive Whippet CrossFit business profile coming up soon. You'll see Mario working out, sweating his
that's it.
Hoo-hoo off. And that'll wrap it up.
That'll wrap it up.
Award-winning.
The award-winning Squared Circle. Hollywood J. Williams.
Congratulations, guy. That's great.
For Mario Mancini, John, and Tom, good night. Good luck.